Hey, good afternoon. Granny Gear here for Old Guy and a Bike. You know what? If there's any part of cycling that is trying to find itself, it's got to be gravel. I'm trying to decide what a gravel bike is and what it isn't. And should it be Aero? Should it take a giant tire? Or do we even care? And on and on and on. Should it be stiff? Should it be fast? Should it be useful? Well, then along with that, wheels, tires, etc., we're all trying to figure it out. I'm going to be taking a look at a set of gravel wheels today I'm going to start using, and it is the deepest rim I've ever used for gravel, and I'm wondering, does that even matter? Well, stay tuned. This is a new set of carbon gravel bike wheels that I'm going to be running around on and testing out for the foreseeable future. It's made by Hunt. This is the 40 carbon gravel race. And on the box it says V2, so it must have been a version 1. I assume then this is version 2. Let's go to the website real quick, take a look at what they say about this set of wheels, because I think there's something in the carbon construction that's kind of unique, and well, maybe that would be important to you. Let's have a look, shall we? Now, looking at the website for the Hunt 40 carbon gravel race wheel set, they say 1,431 grams, 40 millimeters depth, 30 millimeters external, 25 internal width, 700C of course. Now, this is interesting. A race-ready and versatile gravel wheel set built to offer speed and responsiveness for the sharp end of today's gravel racing scene. Made from fully recyclable carbon fiber and resin using H_Cyclo technology, blending purpose-built performance with improved sustainability. Tire size, Aero optimized for 35 to 50 millimeter tires, work well with 29 up to 60 millimeters wide. Interesting. This wheel set comes with their H_ratchet 40 tooth DBL hubs. I'm assuming if that's a ratchet, that's going to be basically a DT Swiss-ish type of ratchet free hub body. And once the patent ran out, the DT Swiss held on that design. Well, now of course they're everywhere, and it's actually a very, very good design. I think more rugged, more reliable, usually easier to surface than the Paul type hubs, etc. H_Cyclo is kind of interesting. Let's look at that again. Fully recyclable thermoset epoxy resin technology that allows for the separation and reuse of both the carbon fiber material and resin components at end of life without creating waste solvents or pollutants. Race-ready rims that will never see the landfill. Performance meets purpose. Well, you know what? I don't think that's a terrible thing, is it? I mean, one of the concerns with carbon is once it breaks or it's out of its end of life, however that happened, what do you do with it? It isn't like aluminum where you can just recycle it and reuse it typically. So that Hunt is making that effort to make that happen in their products, I think that's a good thing. Let me know what you think. Is that important to you? Let Hunt know what you think. If you think that's a good step forward or really doesn't matter to you. In either case, that's what they've done with these 40 carbons. H_Cyclo. Okay. Getting them out of the box, they're packed rather nicely in there, and they just have a pretty nice appearance. When you first pull them out, I was surprised, you know, how light a carbon wheel feels. You look at it and you think, oh, that's kind of a deep wheel. It should be kind of heavy, and you pick it up. Well, it just isn't. They look quite nice. On each set of wheels is a little personalized tag of the person that inspected, trued, checked the wheels for roundness, and all that type of good stuff, so you get a quality wheel when you get it. And so that's kind of cool to see that on there. In the accessory pack that comes with the wheels are 3 spokes, 3 spares with the little curved washers and nipples, in case you break one, bend one, or have to replace that. That's very nice. And Hunt does a really good job of keeping hubs, hub parts and spokes for their lines of wheels going back years. So typically they have that in stock in their US warehouse, as I understand it. I know I've needed parts on some of the wheels I've used in the past. They've always had them, even on older ones. You don't always get that. That's kind of nice. Also in the pack are your valve stems and a sticker. And there's a Hunt sticker. And you know what? I don't know what I do with that. You can find some good place to put it. Maybe, if you've been considering that face tattoo, well, this is an option. And, well, it's a little bit easier to remove when you change your mind. Also in the pack are valve stems to go tubeless. The rims do come taped. They do not pierce completely the hole for the valve stem in the tape. You've got to do that yourself. It'll have a little in other words, it's got a tiny little hole poked in the valve tape where the valve stem hole is. You probably could just push the valve through and get it to work okay that way, since they've started it for you. I'll tell you what I do. I don't have it on camera. I have an old screwdriver. It's an old Phillips head screwdriver that's just smaller than the hole in the rim. I will heat the tip of that at the stove, on my gas stove. I'll just heat that up till it's hot enough to melt the rim tape, and I'll start from the top side, outside of the rim, and I'll just very lightly, carefully push it through, and I'll melt a starter hole on the inside. Then I go back through and heat it back up again, and I remelt, and I get a nice round hole. Why do I do that? Why don't I just cut it out with an X-Acto knife or something like that? Well, if you leave a ragged cut edge on this tape, it can sometimes split right there, and then you're compromising your tape. If you melt it in, well, it's a better solution. I've never had the tape fail there. Been melting it that way forever. Okay? Especially because I retape a lot of wheels, because I got a lot of wheels and tape doesn't last forever. Ooh, and I almost forgot to mention, this is a hookless rim. There is no hook, no mini hook, not one sign of a hook on these rims. Does that matter? Because I am not a fan of a hookless rim for road use with like a 28 to a 32 millimeter tire. Not a fan. I think it's fine for gravel, where the tires are bigger and the pressures are way, way lower. And so I think that's acceptable for gravel. But on the other hand, I have to say that still I am a bit of a fan of a hooked wheel, because, well, it gives you options. However, for this, I think that's going to be okay. Now we need to know the numbers, don't we? I took my set of NASA certified calipers from Harbor Freight and checked in internal, external, and depth, and they're all right with the specs that Hunt says they are. 25 internal, 30 millimeters wide, and about 40 millimeters deep, pretty much. That's hard to measure with a caliper, but right in there. I don't see much of a purpose for having a gravel bike rim much wider than 25. I know people say, well, 30 is awesome, you know. Well, I guess if you're going to run 15 pounds of air in your gravel bike tire, or you're running a 2.2 on your gravel bike, then the 30 makes sense. Otherwise, personally, I think it's wasted width and extra weight that we don't really need, and doesn't give you that much of a benefit. But hey, I've been wrong before. So 25 wide for me is good. Weighed them, put them on the kitchen scale of truth and justice, and I'll put the weights up on the screen, and, well, installed the valve stems, and Bob's your uncle. The hubs also come with, I didn't mention it, a center lock ring already on there, so you got that, and I got XDR version of the rear hub, and it's got the little spacer on there that you need. I was at 2.5 millimeter spacer, because I'm running mullet, so with a SRAM Eagle cassette, I do need that spacer on an XDR free hub. All right, now we got all the numbers and weights and figures and stuff out of the way. The wheels are set up. I'm going to be mounting them on my Turner Cyclosis gravel bike. I'm going to be carrying over the Kenda Crusher 45 millimeter tires, which will be fine on these wheels, I think. I'll be filling that up with some Joe's Super Sealant. And of course, Joe's is a channel sponsor, and I appreciate that, because I've been using that on all my bikes, and it's treated me extremely well. So be basically putting all that on the Turner Cyclosis. I'll be running the SRAM mullet on that, so I've got an Eagle. Actually, that's not an Eagle, and I think about it, it's a Garbaruk 1052 cassette, and that works really, really well for me. I'm going to be taking the bike in a week or so to Idaho, be doing some visiting there for some family that's moved there. We're going to be maybe doing a little bit of riding there, and then at the end of the week, I'm going to be doing Rebecca's Private Idaho, which is a gravel event in the Sun Valley Ketchum area she's been putting on for years. It's been years since I've been there. I do know her, not real well. We've met and we've hung out a little bit back in the day, and this will be the 5th time I've been there and done a Rebecca's, and it's been a lot of years, so I'm looking forward to that. And beyond that, I'll just be putting these wheels on the Cyclosis when I get back home and just riding it like I always do. It's going to be a little while before you probably see feedback, because I like to spend some time with wheels and tires so I get an idea of how they are. But what are my thoughts on this without even having used them? Do we care about having deeper wheels? Do I care about Aero? Is that what I'm chasing in a gravel bike? Do I even care about that? It's a good question. Not really And I'll say that just because the way I use my gravel bikes. I'm typically crawling my way up some fire road or bouncing my way down it. I do spend a lot of time on the road, but I'm not going very fast. I'm hardly ever going over 20 unless I'm going downhill. So for me, I think Aero is on my list of things that are important with the gravel bike. Aerodynamics is not one of them. However, when you look at the scene, when you look at the racing scene, those guys and those gals at the pointy end of the stick of gravel bike racing, my goodness, the speeds are getting fast. 21, 25 miles an hour average for a 100 or 200 mile race. Good golly. At that point, I think whatever aero gains I can get, if I'm out in the wind of Kansas by myself trying to win, I'll take whatever I can get. And they have shown in wind tunnel tests that even with like a 45 millimeter tire, that a deeper rim, well, does kind of matter. Now, I don't think it's as much as it is on the road, but hey, I don't know. I'm no aero expert, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be riding these because what I want to see, not so much as if I can tell aero benefits. I'm certain that I can't. But how are they going to ride? Deeper carbon rims? I don't know. Never done that on a gravel bike. How's it going to be to live with it? And can I tell in pedaling response, steering, cornering? You know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Very interesting. However, I'll let you in on a little secret. Well, I am going to run them on the cyclosis for a while. My long-term plan for these wheels is a whole nother bike project build that, well, I haven't even talked about lately. And I think a lot of you are going to find it more interesting than maybe some of the other stuff I've done lately, because it's kind of more of an everyman's kind of approach. And well, it's going to be sort of gravel and sort of all road, and well, I don't know. We'll see what it ends up being. But I think whatever it is, it's going to be a fun bike to ride. And I think a wheel like this for that bike could be very, very good choice. But we'll see. All right, that's all I have for right now with the Hunt 40 Carbon Gravel Races. We're going to be getting on them, and I'll be letting you know how they treat me out on the trail. Until then, next time you see me talking about the wheels, well, I'll probably be riding in Idaho. You guys have a great week and or weekend, and as always, go ride your bikes.